1x Developer Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to an exciting episode of the 1x Developer Podcast. I'm Colin.
I'm Brendan.
And today, well, what are we going to kick it off with? We're going to talk about open source versus open file format.
Yeah, I don't know if this is really a whose side are you on, but it is it's more of we're kind of like moving this segment into like interesting questions, right?
Right, yeah.
Open source versus open formats. So the thing that kind of kicked this one off was there was a video I watched from Theo where kind of the point of his video was that he prefers Notion over Obsidian, but in the video he kind of says that like a whole bunch of people in his audience were very surprised to find out that Obsidian is not open source. And we've talked about Obsidian on the podcast before. I use it. You still use it, right?
Yeah, I use it. I was also surprised that it wasn't open source.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So a lot of people assume that Obsidian is open source because of how open I guess its file format is, right? Obsidian is just a UI that sits atop a directory of markdown files, basically. So you don't need to use Obsidian to read this directory of files. You can read them with a text editor. You can open them in Notepad. You can, do whatever. Obsidian just gives you like a bunch of tools to read the files in this directory in a more pleasing way, to search for things, to make links between files, all that kind of stuff. But there's really there's nothing proprietary going on in the files themselves, but that UI layer that you're using to view it is a closed source Electron app.
So I've never used Notion. Notion is completely open source?
No, I think Notion is, I think it's like a web-based app. I don't even think you're running it locally.
So why does he
think
prefer Notion?
He goes into it in the video. It's basically just that it does what he wants it to do, and he doesn't want to mess with making his own solution to it. Basically, Notion is good enough for his needs.
It was kind of just a side thing. Like he was just saying, "Hey, by the way, Obsidian's not open source. If that's why you use it."
Yes. So the thing was that Notion went down during one of his videos, and he had a whole bunch of people yelling at him, "You should use Obsidian. It's open source." And he was like, "Actually, it's not open source."
But it does work. Like it doesn't need to be. You don't need an internet connection to use Obsidian, except for syncing.
Correct. That's right, and you do with Notion. Yeah. So that's another way. I mean, that's another big plus for me. That's kind of a separate issue from open source, right, open files, all that. But like the fact that it runs local is a huge plus of Obsidian for me.
All right. So, I mean, right off the bat, I will say I definitely prefer open source and open file format, any of those, over like closed file formats where I have to use this program to open this document. Like when someone sends me a docx file, I'm like, you just go to hell. Don't send me that crap.
Get out of here. I don't want this.
Okay, so then what is it then? Open source versus open file format. I mean, I guess all we're really saying is that when something's open source, there's some other advantages there. Namely, I guess, really in terms of security.
Yeah, I would say security is a big one. Security is probably the big one, and any kind of like, I don't know, telemetry, phoning home kind of stuff, that probably falls under security. But yeah, right. You can verify with, if the source code is available, you can in theory verify that like they are not doing anything weird with your data and treating it in a way that you wouldn't want it to be treated. I guess the other advantage of open source is that you would be able to modify it, right? If there's a bug in Obsidian that they just refuse to fix for 3 years, you would just be able to go in and fix it yourself, in theory.
You're right. Yeah, there are actually I guess like as a consumer, it's I think the reason why a lot of people prefer open source is because they have that peace of mind of, they put this code out there, so that would imply that they're probably not doing anything that people don't want them to do, or if they did, I would know.
Right.
But yeah, there's a whole other source as from a developer's perspective of like, with an open source project, you can contribute to it, or you're free to just fork it and make it your own thing. You're free to look at that code and learn from it, take parts of it and use it for your own projects, that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's advantages there.
Yep.
So yeah, this really isn't a huge side of Yuan. Right? It's more just like these are two different things. And
well, the point I wanted to make though was like there was probably a time 20 years ago where I would have said open file format is not good enough. I want the program to be open source. These days, I don't know. I will admit that having the files in an open format is by far the more important part to me.
Right, yeah.
It's really important to me that I can take my directory full of markdown files and I can go to some other program. I can make my own program that reads these files and does what I want with them. The fact that Obsidian is not open source I would prefer it be open source. I think that it's better for everybody if it's open source, but that's not as big a deal to me as the fact that the files are not open. What I want to ensure for like my long-term sanity is that I'm able to take my files and go somewhere else, and they're not locked in some weird proprietary format that like some company that went out of business 20 years ago and now I can't read these files. Like that's by far the bigger issue to me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of closed source software that I use. I'm not like a super evangelist with open source, but I do prefer it. Right, I think it's a good thing to have. Um, and yeah, I mean, I guess on the open file format thing, like, people talk about like where's your moat for your software, right? So like with Obsidian, they've built this moat around UI features, extension library support, that kind of stuff. The moat is not the data, right? And I think that's kind of the key thing is that I would hate for the moat to be my data, right? Because I want to be able to move somewhere else with my data. It would suck that I would lose, all these great things about Obsidian, but if there was something else that I liked better, I have that choice. That's
100%.
kind of the key thing. Yeah.
I think that's a great way to look at it. Yeah. The moat is not your data.
All right. So moving into my personal obsession, which is going to be the focus of this video. For a long time, I've had just a rant about review websites. Really, it's a few things. It's reviews in general, specifically about media, movies, books, that sort of stuff. But then also suggestion algorithms a little bit too. I don't really know how to describe this as in like a general introductory way, but I think as we go through the points, like you'll start to understand some of my qualms. So okay, let's think about this. Okay, so you heard about a movie and you want to see how good it is. Actually, let's start with this. Actually, let me share my screen. Let me share the IMDb 250 top movies. All right. So for those of you following along at home, the number one top movie is The Shawshank Redemption. Have you seen this movie, Brendan?
I have. A couple times.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's a good movie, right?
Great movie.
Have you seen The Godfather?
Yes, one time a long time ago.
I think that's for a lot of people. Yeah, The Godfather is a very good movie also. Have you seen The Dark Knight?
Yes.
Do you think it's a good movie?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Me too. I very much think The Dark Knight is a good movie. I want to make that very clear before I get into anything else. The Dark Knight is a good movie.
Uh-oh.
But
This
here's the
this
thing.
feels like
Here's the thing.
disclaimer.
But if anybody were to tell me that The Dark Knight was their number 3 or number 1 movie, I'd be like, have you seen The Godfather Part 2? Have you seen 12 Angry Men? Have you seen Lord of the Rings? That's kind of a weird one too. Lord of the Rings. I mean, another great movie. It just what it is, and this is kind of like my personal theory that I've been working on for all this time, is that when I look at this list of 250 top movies on IMDb, I don't think it's a list of the top 250 movies of all time, right? I think it's a list of the top 250 most agreeably good movies. What I mean to say is that I don't think there's anyone who watched The Dark Knight and they were like, yeah, this sucks. I hate this. Right? I think pretty much everyone sees it and they're like, yeah, this is an 8 out of 10. This is a 9 out of 10. Maybe a 10 out of 10. Right? And I think that's why it's number 3. Not because it's the third best movie ever, but because it's like everybody generally likes it. And what's even worse is I think that like some of my favorite movies, I feel like are pretty divisive. Like, I mean, okay, if I were to stress test that, okay, probably a lot of my favorite movies are on this list, but like, I don't know. I just feel like when I'm looking for great movies that are going to like change my life, I'm not looking for things like The Dark Knight.
You're looking for some high highs or some low lows. You want movies that are just going to like, maybe they're more for a specific kind of person, and like if you're the person that it resonates with, boom.
Well, I guess really what my problem is that movies like that, right? Movies that bang for people that they're targeted for, but then fall flat for other people, they will never, ever, ever make it onto this list, right?
Mm-hmm.
The like, I don't know, the just really great gore fest horror film is probably not really going to be on this list. Which I guess is not a terrible thing, but it's something I've noticed. It's probably my major qualm with just review sites in general, and really reviewing in general, right? So this is why, like personally, I pay more attention to like YouTube. Like I'll follow someone on YouTube that I've followed for a while, and I know what they like, and I listen to what they say about the movie, more than like what the number is that they put, and I think that's much more valuable than lists like this. Have I gotten completely unhinged yet?
No, not at all. I think I know where you're going. So I have a friend who's really into movies, and what he's looking for in a movie, he always tells me he likes the site Metacritic, or used to.
Yeah.
And he was always like, the movies that you're looking for are the ones that have like A's and F's.
Yeah.
You want like
people say this.
You don't want like solid B's, solid A's. You want like divisive movies that people feel. It's kind of like the difference between feeling really strongly about a movie and like, oh yeah, that was good, which I feel like is most Marvel movies or whatever. People are like, oh yeah, that was dope, right?
Yeah.
But like, I want to be blown away, or like I had a visceral reaction to that movie. It was terrible. You want those kind of movies that like really cause a reaction in people.
Yeah. And I know that like on Letterboxd, you can see like the breakdown, like you can see how like, if a movie got mostly, you can see like a bar graph of like what star level the audience has given it. Right. So it's not just like, this is a 3 out of 5. It'll show you like, yeah, half the people gave it 1, half the people gave it 5. Mm-hmm. And I've heard people theorize about this, that like, yeah, those are the greatest movies. I've also heard like a lot of theories about on Rotten Tomatoes. So there's like, there's the audience score and there's the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. And I've heard people say that like when the critics are loving it and the audience hates it, I think I've heard both. I think I've heard people say that those are the great ones and those are the terrible ones. I've also heard people say that like there's a few different rules of thumb. I don't really pay much attention to Rotten Tomatoes and that sort of stuff, mostly because of these problems I'm talking about. But I've heard that there's kind of like ways to game it like that, uh, which makes sense, right? Like audiences and critics are kind of looking at different things. They're going in with different sets of expectations. They're kind of like, uh, you know, audiences. There's like there's audiences that are going to go into like a Marvel movie and they're just going to rate the movie based on how well it matches the comics, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
critics are going to be looking at it in a totally different way. There's a lot of different things there that's going to impact that. Uh,
Yeah, and people want different things. That like a random person going to a movie might just want to like zone out for 2 hours, and if a movie is like really involved and demanding, they might just be like, that was not a good movie. When in reality, it was just like it didn't match what they wanted from the movie experience.
right, and so that's actually another one of my points. Um, is basically just that everyone's kind of rating things on completely different criteria. And I've heard this explained. I've heard people say that like they rate a movie based on how well it succeeds at what it set out to do,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is, if you're a professional reviewer, I think that kind of makes sense. That's fair, right? Because it's not fair to compare um, Finding Nemo to The Shining. It's not fair for them to even be on the same list. Like to be the criteria of what those two things are trying to do is just so completely different, right?
Right.
And so I think it's logical to say, okay, both of those movies are 10 out of 10 because they completely knock out of the park the thing they're trying to do. But that's still kind of weird because then it's like, I don't know, there are films that are like, there are films that are made literally for babies. I know I just talked about Finding Nemo, but like, I'm trying to think of an example here. Like, I guess like I would say that a lot of Marvel movies are probably. I know it's kind of like in vogue to hate on those movies. I generally like them, but like you could say that okay, this Marvel movie, its goal was to set up this other Marvel movie, so it succeeded in that. But I don't think that's fair, right? I think like we should expect each movie to be good, right? Like
Yeah. I think that's reasonable.
a movie that sets up another movie, I don't think can really be a 10 out of 10 movie, right? Like that.
Yeah.
Or it might have succeeded perfectly at what it was trying to do, but I don't think that's really a good movie, right? I also know there are people who rate movies purely on how entertained they were, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a messy because it does. Then people will give 5 stars to things that are actually terrible because they enjoyed how terrible they were, which is a totally valid way to like approach media. I think, right? Like, I think that's totally fine. For like, you can watch terrible movies and enjoy them if that's what you want to do. That's great. But I think it kind of messes up what we're trying to do when we're looking at like the top 250 list of movies, right?
Right. So what's an example of a terrible movie that people like? We're not talking about like The Room here, but maybe like a Fast and Furious movie or something.
My head immediately went to The Room, but even like, I mean, there are people who really love watching Sharknado. I've never
Yeah.
seen it, but there are people who like really enjoy those movies. Like they think that they're a lot of fun to watch. Or Troll 2. Troll 2 is a movie that people love um, because it's just so bad it's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, Troll 2 doesn't belong on this list.
Right. It's The Godfather and Troll 2 in the number 2 spot.
Yeah. So that's another way to do it. I think most people, they try to go for just like how good the movie is. Right? I think that's kind of the standard approach, which makes sense, right? That's definitely logical, right? We rate it based on how good it is, but then that still just kind of leaves like, I mean, what does that mean? Like, what? That depends on like, you know, there are people who are like really into plot, I'm kind of a writing person. I like movies that are like really have really good strong screenplays. There are people who are like just really into effects. Like they just want to see the best effects. They just want to see the coolest action. There are people who are really actor people. They just want to see amazing performances. They don't care what they're doing, right? They just want to see people like act their asses off. I actually saw I saw a clip today on Twitter. I was just scrolling through, and it was just like a random interview at like a convention or something. And someone was saying that one anime was better than another anime because the fashion was better. And I don't mean to dog on people, like, hey, whatever it is you like, but it's just kind of like, I don't know. I'm not coming to films to see like who has the best, who's like dressed the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's not really what I'm. I will say like, not really bad fashion, but like if the fashion is like, you know, if it like doesn't fit the movie, like that could be a reason to dock points, right? I might enjoy a movie less if it's a ninja movie and like people have like Louis Vuitton bags. I don't know. I might. But you know, the point is like obviously just that taste is subjective, I guess, right? And that media is subjective as a whole.
Yeah.
So that's where I start to get into the whole point of just like, you know, do reviews even matter? Like, what are we even doing? You know?
Right. Now we're into this weird thing of just like, I mean, not even just movies, but you go to an art museum and like now we're talking about just like what our experience of art is subjective and what makes good art. Yeah. We're in some deep waters here, Colin.
Yeah. And I don't have the answers. I like movies. I like some movies and I don't like other ones.
Here's an interesting thing that I think about though, that's like maybe the other side of the coin of what you were just talking about. I think there are a lot of people who don't have necessarily like a specific thing they're looking for, but they might have like a real turnoff, right? If the CGI is really bad or the acting's really bad, like a David Lynch movie, the acting is very kind of wooden and weird all the time. Right. I think a lot of people are just like instantly turned off by that. They're like, I don't care about whatever is going on in the plot and the writing. Like the acting is just so weird that it just takes me right out of it.
Yeah, I think David Lynch movies are a good example of movies that are ill-equipped for this type of list, right? Because of what you're talking about. There are people who, and this is totally valid. There are people who just like aren't going to like those movies, right? Yeah. And I think that's totally fine. Like they're not for everyone. And yeah, like I remember like the first couple of times I tried to watch Eraserhead, it was the performances specifically where I was like, the vibe of this is just so off that I'm just like not enjoying myself and I don't want to watch this. I did eventually like make myself watch it and I was like, okay, yeah, this is really good. This is pretty good. But yeah, but you're totally right. There's things. Do you have anything like any movies or like anything music that like you got put off for some really silly reason? I've got at least one I can think of.
I really don't like old movies, to be honest. I really don't like movies where, you know, I kind of feel like movies in the old days were this kind of evolution of the stage, and the acting was very sound like they're speaking to the theater. That kind of thing. That really turns me off. I don't like any movie made before 1960 because of that.
I think that's pretty common. I think a lot of people that would agree with that.
I wish I wasn't that way, but it just really, really turns me off.
No, yeah, I know people who say they just can't watch any movie that's in black and white. And it's like, I can, but like I get it, you know. So like I have one with music, any like album where there's someone like eating, there's like audio of someone eating in the microphone. So one specific one I can think of is Tweez, the album Tweez by Slint. And it's played as like a kind of a joke, right? Like it's not like a skit exactly, but there's like they're like eating in the microphone. And it sounds so gross to me that I shut off the whole album and I can't even skip it fast enough. Like I can't even listen to the album because of it. Like I think the whole album is just that's all I can think about. Like is just the part where the dude's eating.
That's really funny. Alan's Psychedelic Breakfast on Pink Floyd.
Yeah, yeah. No, any eating. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on like how mouthy it sounds. Sort of like I don't know how to explain it, man.
There are people
I think
who are into that,
I
though.
think
That's an
someone
ASMR thing, right?
maybe it's not me. I'm not into it. I
Yeah.
think I'm maybe cool with like someone like with a straw like that sound. I'm cool with that, but I don't want to hear like your mouth making like eating noises. That I can't do that.
That's not very common in albums, is it?
It's not. No, Tweez is the big one. Yeah, sorry, you got knocked off.
Yeah.
I mean, there is. I really love "Ready to Die" by Notorious B.I.G., but there is that skit where there's someone doing something with their mouth, uh, and that you can hear. And I will say, I dislike that part. That doesn't cloud the whole album for me. I can skip it fast enough, and it doesn't like gross me out in the way that the food thing does.
That seems very specific.
It really is. I don't know. There's something with me, but and I feel like there's other things like that. Like I feel like there's other movies and stuff where I was like, man, this one thing, I just can't get over it.
I'll tell you one that like it doesn't instantly kill it for me, but just as a general rule, I don't like songs that have kind of like nonsense lyrics where they're just like. So
I dislike
the one that's coming to mind is "Psycho Killer" by Talking Heads.
Oh yeah.
It's like I don't like that. I don't like when they just like fill syllables with nonsense words.
Oh, you mean I thought you meant just like when like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, where you listen to the lyrics and it's just like what you're not saying anything. You're talking about when they're doing the like they're not scatting, but they're doing like they're doing vocal sounds filled in. Like
Yeah.
yeah. That I see. I can see that. I do like that song "Psycho Killer" actually, but that does bug me sometimes. Like, man, there's a lot of songs. There's a lot of like pop songs. I feel like in like the mid 2000s that did like na 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 every day. Like you know that song?
Well, wait. I think we're thinking of different
Bodies,
songs. Which one?
bodies like a melody in my head. Like from got me singing like na 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 every. But there was a whole slew of na 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 songs during that time.
No, I'm thinking of that na 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 na. Hey, goodbye.
Oh yeah, that song sucks. That song sucks. There's also like there's also na 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 na. Hey hey hey. You know
that's the one I'm thinking of.
That's from Remember the Titans.
Is it really?
Or they sing it in Remember the Titans. I don't know what it's from, but I know they sing it in Remember the Titans. They sing it at the guy's funeral at the end of the movie.
I just think I don't know. It's not so bad as the eating where I just like have to stop the album, but it's just I don't know what it is. That kind of turns me off when they just like when they fill time on the album with syllables that are not words.
No, I agree actually. And honestly, I feel like that's kind of that's a little bit different from the pet peeve thing. I mean, because I feel like that's like a legitimate criticism. Right. I feel like it's legitimate for you to just say, hey, I think it sucks that like you're like you just ran out of words and just started making words up. Whereas the food thing is just me being weird.
I don't know if the Talking Heads just like ran out of words. I think they wanted to do that.
He's doing No, I read David Byrne's book, and I remember in How Music Works, he talks about how like everything they did, they always just did because in the moment they thought it was interesting. Like one of the criticisms about them was that they were kind of like being experimental for like experimentalism's sake. And he says in his book anyway that he never thought of it that way. It was always just like, I thought that this was just like the music that I made, you know? So yeah, I don't think he ran out of words. I think he just thought that sounded cool or whatever.
And obviously a lot of other people do too. A lot of people like that song.
I'm trying to blank on any other things that just kill me. Oh wait, no, I was telling you about one of these the other day. I don't like in books when someone has such a thick accent that I can't read what they're saying.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And
Was,
have you stopped reading books because of this?
yeah, I swore off books. I'm done with all books. I don't do books anymore. Okay, I mean, I did drop. Well, this is a comic book, but I did drop From Hell by Alan Moore. That's probably going to make people mad. But I did drop it because
novel, right?
Yeah, and it's set in Jack the Ripper times, so people are doing like super. I think it's called Cockney. I don't know all the different types of English accents, but whatever they're speaking in that book, it's like, dude, I don't even know what you guys are saying. I need subtitles for this, and it's a book, so
Where's the closed caption button on this book?
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because I feel like it probably is really good, but that was a bit much for me. The other one is The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. I did read that entire book actually, even though the narrator lives in a future where people have given up like prepositions and like he speaks in this like weird caveman speak through the entire book, and it's very irritating. But I did read the whole book, and it still wasn't even very good in my opinion. So
before we were recording, we were talking about Kubrick and movies and stuff. You ever tried to read the book Clockwork Orange?
I have not. I've wanted to for a long time, but I have not read that.
It's got like
but
a
I know
glossary
that
in the back.
Yeah, he like has his own language in that book, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I've never read it either. I just kind of know that. I was curious if you'd ever taken a crack at that.
No, I've wanted to for a long time, but I never have. I will someday.
That's not such an uncommon one. I feel like that's pretty common for people to kind of try to write characters as they speak. Yeah. What do you think is the solution to that? You think people should just inform accents kind of like in their head?
Well, I mean, there are times where it doesn't bother me, right? If it's more like I think it just there's just a limit to it, right? Like I think the reader needs to be able to like comprehend what the dialogue is generally, right? I guess that's kind of a lowbrow thing to say. Like it should be that I should just like try harder, I guess. Because there are books like there's like James Joyce books that are like there are books that are just hard to read, and the solution is you need to like be smarter. But that I would say that just in my opinion, I think like maybe like Alan Moore could have like put some of the syllables back into the words. That's just me. But also, I mean, he's English, so maybe to him it didn't seem that bad.
Oh, I mean, that's a really good point. I didn't realize he was English. Yeah. So maybe you're like 2 layers removed from the language at that point.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. So I guess that's on me, really. Okay. What we were talking about things that turn you off for no reason or for like not very legitimate reasons. Okay. Jumping back into the topic at hand here. So there's another issue is just that review sites in general have kind of a selection bias, right? There's a certain type of person who makes an IMDb profile, and that person does not reflect the average moviegoer, right? I would say that's safe. And if you look at this list, I stopped sharing now, but like, you can tell, like, these are like, the list is very like, not like film student, because it's not like there's a lot of like popular films like the Dark Knight and stuff. But I would say they're kind of like film bro movies, sort of. I hate that term. Like that doesn't really mean anything, but like
Yeah, I don't know what that
you
means.
know, like I don't know. There are film bros are like try hard movie people. And that's not really what this is, right? I mean, it's the Shawshank Redemption, right? Like everybody's seen that, but like I don't know how to explain it. But okay, I'm gonna scroll through real quick. Okay, so we've got like the Dark Knight on here. We've got all the Lord of the Rings movies on here. We've got Fight Club, Inception, The Matrix, Interstellar, um, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. I don't know if this is coming through because I don't really know how to articulate it, but like that's a certain type of moviegoer. You know what I mean? Like,
Maybe I don't. I don't know the
okay,
common thread between those
okay,
movies.
let me do this actually. Okay, so if I look at like the Sight and Sound list, all right, which the Sight and Sound films is that's a list made by directors. I think they interview directors. No, according to worldwide opinion polls, they conduct. But they poll. I think they poll like critics or these are like movie people, right? Oh yeah, okay. The directors poll. So the directors poll. The list is like Citizen Kane, Tokyo Story, Vertigo, 8.5, Persona, Close Up, Mirror. Like these are like different types of movies. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I think I see what you mean. So, yeah, Dark Knight and those movies are film bro movies because it almost seems like there's a recency bias there. These are all like recent movies. I mean,
Okay,
Terminator 2 is kind of old.
yeah, and there are old movies on here. I mean, there's The Godfather and 12 Angry Men
Shawshank's
is
pretty
old. Film bro might not be the right term, but I would say those are definitely more accessible movies than like the Sight and Sound list, right? So
This
I'm going to
almost seems like
Metacritic now, and like so Metacritic has okay. The top movie is called Decalogue. I don't know what this is. Uh, it's a foreign film. I don't know what it is. Number 2 is Boyhood. Number 3 is Lawrence of Arabia. This is a different lit. Like these Casablanca. I'm not sure. Metacritic doesn't seem to have as much of a clearly defined vibe. I feel like the Sight and Sound list is like these are like movie ass movies for like people who smoke pipes and watch nothing made after 1980. And like the IMDb list is more like I'm a movie guy kind of movies. I don't know.
Is this okay? So is this similar to the Rotten Tomatoes division between a critic review and a moviegoer review? Is that kind of what we're talking about here?
I think so. Yeah, right. I would say the Sight and Sound list is more of a critic list. I mean, it's literally they polled directors, and then the IMDb list is a bit more of an audience list. Although, well, I mean, all these movies are critically acclaimed too, right? The Godfather critics like that also.
But I think that comes kind of close to what you're talking about. It's like these are people who are like interested in the finer aspects of film, and then like maybe the IMDb list is a little more like people who enjoy going to the movies. It's more like kind of oriented towards that. People who just like going to see a movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know because I feel like okay, let me just like I'm really struggling to like put this into words, but like okay, the IMDb list is because these are not like audience like crowd pleasers, right? These are movies that critics like. These are critically acclaimed movies. They're also not like deep cuts, okay? Like there's really not any foreign films on here, right? These are mostly all movies I've heard of. And again, I like these. Like, I mean, I might have some qualms on here. Okay, like I think The Godfather Part 2 is better than The Godfather, but I mean, they're both right next to each other. I think The Dark Knight is a little bit out of place. I think the Lord of the Rings movies are maybe a little bit high. I think Fight Club's high. I think Inception is high. I love The Matrix. But like, I don't know how to explain it, man. But I feel like I scroll through this list and I can perfectly imagine the guy who has this list of favorite movies.
This is very interesting to me. I think part of it is just that like I'm not a movie guy. I don't watch a lot of movies. I'm not like up on movies. So I think I don't know really what you're describing here. This is very interesting to me. But what are we I think what you're saying though is that this list is oriented towards a specific kind of person, right? Um
Well, I mean that's part of it, but also the other part is that just different websites have different lists, and I think that different websites have different cultures, right? Like
yeah.
I think that the culture of Metacritic is different from the culture of IMDb, and I
Mm,
think each of those have different cultures than Rotten Tomatoes. I feel like Rotten Tomatoes is very audience centric. At least the audience. I guess it's because the audience is separate from the critics, so that's probably why. But I feel like the audience reviews on Rotten Tomatoes are very much like, yeah, we like you know popcorn movies. Let me see.
okay.
Does Rotten Tomatoes have like a top? Do they have like a top 300 best movies of all time on Rotten Tomatoes? Number one is The Godfather. Number two is Seven Samurai. Now this is a pretty standard like. I think I like this list better than the IMDb list actually. I don't know what I'm saying, man. All I know is the review sites are messed up.
How do we fix them? What's the
So that's
what's the
that's the thing.
solution?
I've spent a lot of time kind of just wondering about that, right? I mean, how do you fix these things, right? How do you get? I mean, first of all, how do you assign a score to a movie, right? In general, but then how do you solve this problem of uh, things being agreeably good versus I almost want to see a list of the most five-starred 5 out of 5 star stars, you know what I mean, rather than like an aggregate score.
Okay. The
You know what I mean?
most the movie where the most people gave it the 5 stars?
Yeah, just the most rather than like a mean score of all. I'm assuming that's what these are, is just an average of all of them.
Yeah.
uh, I almost think that would be more interesting. um, that still doesn't solve the problem of like what criteria you're I think you kind of just have to accept that, right? People are going to have different criteria.
Yeah. I think that's part of I mean this discussion around like what makes good art and how how we maybe you can really sum it up in like what you just said about how do you assign a number value to art. It's like I think that's part of what makes culture. He what do you think about this idea? Maybe it's a good thing that different sites have different cultures like this, and the point is to like find your people. There's room in all of this for different cultures, different vibes, whatever you want to call it. Like, and the goal is that like if you read through that top 10 list and you're like, oh god, that's so film bro, that's not for me. Then you go like find the list that kind of vibes with your interests, and like you can nitpick about number one and number five and number seven, but like the 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 kind of like the feeling of the culture, these are my people, like they get what we're talking about. um maybe there's room in it for that. Maybe there's nothing wrong with review sites, it's that there's different strokes for different folks.
That's actually a really good point, and I feel like that is kind of what I do with YouTube, right? Instead of a community, it's more just like one guy, right? I feel like
Mhm.
I have a pretty good understanding of like what types of movies the guys on Red Letter Media like. So I feel like when they talk about a movie, I get a really good idea of like if I would like it or not, and what this movie's all about. that goes for like any big reviewers, right? Like I feel like I know what kind of movies Chris Stuckman likes. I know what kind of albums Anthony Fantano likes. So I can kind of get an idea. Even if he hates something, I might still like it because I kind of know, I kind of have an idea of like what stuff he's into and what stuff he kind of doesn't like. And if I listen to the whole video, I can get an idea, you know?
Yeah. Yep. I definitely have people that I listen to and they gave it a bad review. And I'm like, I don't know. That kind of sounds like up my alley based on what
Yeah.
I know about you as a reviewer.
So then what you do is then you went back to the video, you left a mean comment, you give them a thumbs down, and unsubscribe.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't put up with that. You don't give this album that I like a bad review, pal.
Yeah. I will say there are like, like yeah, that's dumb. But like there are like reviews that I'll see and I'm like, yeah, bro, you're like not even making sense. I think that's the thing that frustrates me when someone has an opinion on something and they can't even explain it.
You're talking
Or like
about like
it.
it's like unnecessarily mean. You're talking about
Either way, if they really dislike something and they can't explain what's so bad about it, or like, I want to give an example, but I just know that like people listening to this are just going to disagree with me, so then the point's not going to come through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, like I was saying earlier, okay, like the David Lynch thing, right? Like I totally understand that there are people who just don't like his movies at all because like it's just a vibe that they don't like. But then there's like, I don't know, there's like people that have given me movie takes that I'm just like, you're insane. I'm trying to think of like, okay, like I remember I saw Jurassic World, and a guy at work asked me, and they asked me what I thought about it. I'm not going to say what I thought about it, but this dude at work asked me, "Is it as good as the first one?" And I was like, "The first Jurassic Park? Like, is it as good as Jurassic? Like that's like one of the best movies ever, right? Like, no, it's not as good as Jurassic Park. You know what I mean? Like, why would you ask me that? Like that's just a ridiculous question, right? Like, of course it's not as good as Jurassic Park, dude.
Is Jurassic Park one of the best movies ever?
I think Jurassic Park is one of the best movies ever.
Where is it in the list?
I think it's like top 5 for me.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, Jurassic Park is top 5. Do you think Jurassic Park's not that good?
I don't know. Honestly, I feel like that movie made a much bigger impression on other people than it did on me. I saw it in the theaters and I haven't seen it since. In what was that, 1992? Yeah, it just didn't.
Wow.
It didn't do much for me. Yeah, I mean, it was cool.
No, and that's fine. But like, do you think Jurassic World is as good as Jurassic Park?
I haven't seen any of the other Jurassic.
Would you expect it to be as good as Jurassic Park? Like,
No.
That to me is mind blowing, right? That's the part that's crazy.
Yeah, I would expect all of the subsequent movies to be of lesser quality.
Yeah. And that's just my point, right? Like it's okay that you aren't big on Jurassic Park, right? Like that's okay. But like, I don't know, if you were just like, yeah, Jurassic Park just sucks because the music's terrible and like the effects are terrible and Steven Spielberg never even made anything good anyway, I would just be like, okay, hang on. You're just saying stuff. Like you're just saying stuff, right? Like I don't know. Am I hard headed? Like I do kind of have this. I feel like my friends think I'm the guy that like they can't disagree with on movies and stuff. But it's really not that. I just feel like I get passionate when it's like people are saying crazy stuff.
No, I don't think. Wait, but I mean, it depends. What do you think is crazy? You think saying
okay, so I mean, there's like that, but like I got into like a big debate with a guy about the Star Wars sequels and the Star Wars prequels.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a thing that's been going on online for like ever, right? Like people have been arguing about Star Wars for a long time. And so I thought that it was pretty much well understood that the prequel movies are like not very good.
That was
It
also
seems
my
like
understanding.
it seems like online. I think the problem is that people in my generation that grew up watching those have this like nostalgia for them, and it's kind of clouding the judgment because it seems like people have kind of swung now. Because then the sequel, they made more movies that also are not perfect, and so now people try to say that the prequels are actually pretty good, and that this new sequel movies are terrible, and that's a little crazy to me. I guess that argument was more about the perception because I was more trying to say like, no, dude, it's like a well-regarded thing that the prequels suck. And this guy was like, no, that's not a thing. Everybody loves those. And I was like, I don't think so. But those are the types of things that just get me like, I'm like, nah, dude, you're tripping. Like, because, okay, because here's the thing, like, the prequels are like, on like technical, like on objective, there are objective metrics. There are objective metrics that you can judge a movie by. Okay, like it is a subjective art, but like I think you can objective is a strong word, but like I think we can really all agree that like some of the performances in those prequel movies are bad, right?
Acting
like
performances we're talking about?
Yeah, some of the acting is bad, right?
Okay.
Some of the effects are mostly okay. Some of them are, there's some poor choices there. So like something like that, I don't think there's any performances in any of the sequels that I would say are just like straight up bad, right? Like I would in the same regard as like I said I would with the prequels, right? So like not liking the new movies is fine. They're not like great or anything in my opinion, but like people who think that like the prequels are great and the sequels are trash is I just don't understand it, right? Like you're turning a blind eye to like clear like there's some like I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I'm just a nerd who needs to like get a life.
Is the problem really though that people can't defend their opinion? They're just like the prequels are awesome, and you say, "What are you talking about? Why are they awesome?" And they're just like, "I don't know, just like Jar Jar Binks is cool."
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, no, it is that. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like when people like when they have a crazy opinion that they can't defend, or even worse, when their logic doesn't make sense, like their logic is just like not good. I'm trying to think of like an argument someone made that I was just like, dude, that's just insane. I remember. Okay, so this actually that same argument about the prequels. I was talking about how so the Yoda puppet in the Yoda was a puppet in the original movies, right? And then the Phantom Menace, the first prequel, he's a puppet, and at some point they made him CGI, and I think that making him CGI was a mistake. That's just a personal thing, I guess, right? That's just my opinion. Like, it's okay if you disagree with me there. But then this guy, he tried to make the argument that it wasn't fair to compare CGI to puppets because CGI was a new technology, whereas puppetry had years to become better. And I'm like, okay, but like they still could have just used the puppet that they already had. Like they didn't have to they didn't have to use this new technology that wasn't perfected yet. So like maybe it's unfair to say CGI isn't as good as puppets or whatever, but like in 2001. But like I think it is fair for me to say any later movie, I think it's a fair expectation that later movies should look better than previous movies.
Yes. I think that's fair.
And maybe not an expectation because like, I mean, if a movie's like directed by somebody else, if it's a different team, I get it. But like, I think you see what I mean, right? Like, it's just an argument that just like doesn't make sense to me. Like, they could have done what they already did, so like they should have did that. That was better, right? Like, if you're making things worse, that's like a bad choice, right? Like that,
right?
Does that make sense? Like
they should have not done the thing that looked worse. Yeah.
Yeah, these are the arguments that I'm just like, okay, I'm like mad now and I'm screaming, and then I feel like I get upset, and then everyone's like, dude, why can't you just accept that people have different opinions about Star Wars movies? And I'm like, no, dude, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about This dude's saying that puppets went extinct when CGI came out. And I don't know, dude.
Was like some of this conversation kicked off by, do you have any review sites that you like, just you read their lists and you're just like, these people are off their nut, these people are just absolutely crazy?
I'm sure I've probably come across like YouTube channels like that, but I can't think of anything specifically. I
Hmm.
think I mean there's definitely some that I like I definitely recognize like, okay, yeah, I agree with, like, this is more in line with my taste than this other thing, right? But I don't think, yeah, I'm not aware of a review site where I'm just like, yeah, this guy's just saying crazy stuff. I'll see tweets like that, but then also the thing is nowadays you never know what's just engagement bait
Yeah.
and what's like an actual, because I'll see stuff and I'm just like, yeah, nah, that this guy's he's just trying to get a reaction out of people. He does not think that.
That's kind of the difference between like talking to your friends and reading something online is when you were talking about, crazy good reviews or crazy bad reviews that just don't make a lot of sense. I always have this like thing in the back of my mind that's just like, is this just like some paid promotion thing that people are doing? Like, I
Yeah,
don't know. It's
there's that. Yeah.
unfortunate.
Well, and there's this other phenomenon that happens online where there's like fandoms, right? And then like fandoms get cloud like they get like a clouded judgment on entries into their fandom, right? Uh, and that's a big thing in like especially with like comic book movies, right? Where like I think a lot of people, like I was saying earlier, there are people who will like a comic book adaptation film just because it's like accurate to the source material, and they'll disregard the fact that like the movie's like ugly, too long, has like other problems.
Yeah.
Uh, and the other way around too, right? There are some people who seem to think that like nothing can ever change, like everything has to be exactly like the source material. When I see a lot of times, I see like adjustments that are made that like make sense for a different medium, But
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a there's a lot of different branching off like discussions here. Maybe we should just be a movie podcast.
Get Colin, guess how many canonical Star Wars movies are there? 9?
I don't know, dude. I mean, so you mean the ones that are like they have episode in the name?
I think that's right. Like,
Because there's 9 of those.
okay.
But then there's also like there's like a Han Solo spinoff movie, and there's like there was Rogue One.
I was thinking of the original 3, the prequels, and the sequels.
Yeah, that's
There-
9 movies. Yeah.
There's 9, right? Guess how many of those I've seen?
How many you have seen? I've met people who haven't seen any, which is nuts.
How old were they?
He was the same age as me, and this was in college. So he was like 20.
Hmm.
But he was like 20, 10 years ago. Uh, I don't know. Have you seen 2?
That's right. I have seen
You've seen
2 of
2.
9.
Which
Yeah.
ones have you seen?
I've seen the first one. Well, the episode 4.
The first one that came out, yeah.
Yeah. And then I saw episode 6. Which one is that? It's not Empire Strikes Back. It's the other one.
It's it's
the
Return of the
third
Jedi.
one. There you go. So both of those I saw when they released them in theaters for the 25th anniversary, like when I was in high school. And those are the only times I've ever seen them.
Were they so they were like the original cuts of the movie too, right?
I think there was some big deal that he had done a bunch of the weird
Okay.
edits at that point.
Yeah.
I think I think in those releases there was like whatever he did to Jabba the Hutt, or like I don't
Yeah.
know all the details. But
That's lame.
Yeah.
You got to see Empire Strikes Back, dude.
I hear that's a good one.
I think that's the one that's like okay, so here's another thing. like so there's like there's like there's movies that are good. There's kind of like nerds, and then there's like movie people, right? So like there's like Star Wars nerds, right? That they like, they I don't know, they're fans of Star Wars and they want Star Wars stuff. They want to see a lot of lightsabers and that sort of stuff. And then there's like movie people that just want to see a good movie, right? And Empire to me is a movie that's both.
Mm.
Like it's a movie that is a good Star Wars movie, and it's just a good movie. Like it's all around just like a good movie, I think.
Are there any? Where would you rank the Star Wars movies? Let me just ask this: are the middle three the top three? Are 4, 5, and 6 the top three?
I mean, probably, yeah.
Okay.
The only one I'm questionable on is Empire is episode 6. That one I think is noticeably worse than the first two. But I think it's still probably better than the other movies in the series. I don't know what I would put above it.
What's the difference between nerds and fandom? Are those the same thing?
When I just said it, I meant them in the same way. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, both Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, they have this like deep. I always just feel like I'm missing something when people talk about these movies. They've clearly been, maybe Harry Potter also. They've just been like, they've been thinking about these things for a long time, and I just haven't. And like I just feel like they get caught up in a lot of minutia to me, and from the outside, it's just hard to penetrate that.
Well, so and see, this is the thing. I tend to approach most things from just like film guy approach, right? I don't think I think I generally don't get swept up in like fandom stuff, or at least I try not to. And I think that's part of why I have these moments where I'm like, that doesn't make sense, because there's like I'm arguing with like fan people, who are just, and it's really just what I was talking about earlier. They're coming to these things in a different way, right? There's this tweet that always comes back. It just like lives in my head. This guy said, I believe he says, I'm beginning to understand that some of you just approach media differently than I do. And that's something that I just always come back to, right? There are people who just are not looking at movies, music, books, comic books, anime. They're just like not looking at it in the way that you are, right?
Yeah.
Like there are some people who just don't see it that way at all. So I don't know.
We all want different things from. I was going to say entertainment, but like I don't think a lot of people even see it as entertainment. A lot of people see it as an art form to be studied, right? And some people do see it as entertainment, and some people see it as just like passive. I don't know, it's just something to watch while I eat dinner or whatever.
For sure, yeah. I think that's most pronounced in music, where like I think probably most people view music as like just kind of a background noise.
Yeah.
You know? But music is not, to me, music isn't really a background noise. This podcast is background noise.
No, I hope not.
But
I hope
music,
you're hanging on every word.
I think music can be background noise, but I think like, there are albums that like you need to sit down and like think about and listen. And if you do, you will be rewarded for that.
Well, to bring it back to tech stuff for a minute, I was hearing this commentary, reading this article about AI generated music and all this stuff, and this woman was talking about how great it would be if we could all just generate the music that we wanted at the moment we wanted it. Whatever we felt in the moment, we could just generate, playlist for ourselves of that feeling at the moment. And she thought that would be a great thing. And I was like, man, I think you approach media differently than I do.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. The AI
I don't
stuff
want
has
that
for
at all.
sure. the AI stuff definitely brings that to the forefront. Right? Some people view film and music and video games and everything as content, right? And they just want more content to just be put into their face. And if you view it that way, then yeah, AI is great, right? AI can
Yeah.
definitely make content that resembles other content that you like. So, if that's the way you view it, I guess that, I see where you're coming from.
But what if you're looking for, someone else? The way that I view art in general is someone expressing something, hoping that, maybe not even hoping that, but it, someone, when people make art, they are expressing something, and there's a possibility that it resonates with someone else, and you feel like a human connection with someone else
Yeah.
over I don't know, distance, space, and time. It's it's an incredible thing, and that's very different from just like, I don't know, just generate some noise for me while I'm doing the dishes.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like, for me, I don't know if it's human connection, but it's like, it's deeply tied to the human experience, right? Like it makes me think about being alive and doing human things, right? That's like a big part of what art is to me.
Yeah.
One thing that was kind of funny to me when you were talking about that, though, is I wonder if she's ever considered that there is actually a way to generate music. There's actually multiple ways to do it. You can actually just sing, or even there are these devices you can purchase, and there's some there's a learning curve, no doubt, but you can actually use these things to create music, and it can be anything you want it to be.
Whatever you're feeling in the moment,
Yeah, so
you can
I would
generate
recommend. Yeah, I would recommend her to look into that.
it. 100%.
Um, Geez, yeah, I kind of went off the rails here a little bit. Another thing I was going to talk about was kind of recommendation algorithms, which is kind of a separate topic, really, but it's related, I guess, a little bit in the sense that, like, a lot of recommendation algorithms seem to focus on like one particular aspect of something that you told it you liked,
Hmm.
and then it just like hangs on to that. So, like, an example for me would be like, okay, so I think The Godfather is a great movie, but I don't really want to be recommended a bunch of mob movies. I'm not really a big mob movie guy. I just think that, like, The Godfather Part Two, Scarface, Mean Streets is really good. But there's just like a handful of like mob movies I'm into. Uh, so I don't, I don't want to just be endlessly recommended that genre. I wish there was some way to, like, I don't know, tell the recommendation that like, I mean, basically what it is like, I just like good movies. Like, I want you to understand that. I want you to just read my mind and know what I would like.
Yeah.
But
I
I don't
mean,
know.
that's some kind of, yeah, it's like some kind of statistical thing, right? It's analyzing the thing you, it's analyzing your Godfather click, and then a bunch of other stuff you've clicked on, and then kind of like deciding statistically what's the most likely thing Colin likes about this particular thing that he clicked on. And in this case, it landed on the wrong answer.
I mean, I guess if I gave it enough information, it would start to be able to build. It depends on the algorithm, really, but uh, there are good ones I've come across that seem to be able to build sort of a profile of like, kind of how I feel like I get an idea of this person's taste from a list. There's some that seem to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So
I think it really is when something is like far outside, well, I shouldn't even say that, but when it can't fit it quite into a box, I feel like that's when you really notice it from the recommendations. That's when the recommendations start to get kind of weird. Is like,
yeah,
um So the one that I have in my YouTube algorithm right now was I watched one YouTube video for the instructions for a board game that I was going to play with a friend of ours, and now it has a whole bunch of things in here about board games you might like and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, I just wanted the instructions for like this particular one that we had already decided to play. Um, it's like that's when I kind of notice that the recommendations are off. Is that
Yeah.
when it's something that I wouldn't usually watch, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, like YouTube is unique because it has content on like literally every subject ever.
Yeah.
So it's more than just movies, you know. Um, but I do still think it's funny that like I browse couches for a little bit on Amazon, and then I buy one, and then it keeps recommending me couches. It's like, no, I don't have a thing for couches. Like, I wanted one, and now I'm good for like 4 years.
That seems like it should be a solved problem. I feel like
Yeah,
that one's been a problem for a long time.
it really, yeah, it really has.
I bought a toilet seat on Amazon one time. It was like, you might like these toilet seats. I was like,
Oh,
no,
I actually
nope,
I bought
just need one.
two like I bought two relatively close in time, and I was getting a ton of toilet seats recommendations. I replaced both of ours around the same time, so it was like, yeah,
This dude's
Amazon was
really
like,
into toilet
this
seats.
this guy, have I got the thing for you?
Yeah, you're on some list now. Toilet seat enthusiast.
Um, yeah, all right. I'm sweaty.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like we needed another voice in this episode. Someone to like argue in favor of irrational views of movies. Someone to just come on here and be like, "Nah, I just like it. I don't have to justify it to you." And
And
we
I
could
mean,
argue with them.
I guess that's valid too. Really, I mean, like it just I think like if someone says, "Hey, I like this and I can't explain it, and I don't know why, but I sit down and I watch it and I like it," I feel like I can get that. But don't try to like you don't have to like convince yourself while you convince me that there's like valid reasons. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I feel like that episode would never end though if there was somebody here. If there was somebody in here trying to tell me the Star Wars prequels are good, I don't know. I don't know what would have happened.
That's probably true. It'd be a 5-hour episode.
What's your movie hot take? One hot take before we go.
Oh man. Put me
I mean,
on
I
the
guess you
spot
said
here.
you're kind of lukewarm on Jurassic Park. That's kind of hot, right? But
Yeah.
you didn't say like it's terrible. You just said like feel like I'm not getting it.
And it's more just like I saw it in whatever 1992 and it
That's
didn't
it.
like leave a deep impression on me.
Actually, let me ask because okay, so my dad told me that he didn't really like Star Wars, and he saw it in theaters. It wouldn't have been like it might have been like the first run, but like the movie had definitely been out for a while because he said he went and it was like a party. Like people were dressed up and they were like doing they were like saying the words while the speaking along with the dialogue. There was like people like throwing frisbees and stuff,
Hmm.
and he was like, "Yeah, I just hated the movie." And it's like, honestly, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Like I think that would make it hard to enjoy.
It
You
seems
know,
like he hated the experience.
the
Yeah.
experience. But I can see how that could maybe cloud your whole, you know, like perception of the entire franchise. Honestly, like, yeah, these guys are geeks and weirdos, and I don't get it. I could see that. Was it like
Yeah.
that though, or was everybody chill?
No, I mean, I saw it when it first came out. I don't know how old I was, what, 12 or 13 or something.
Oh yeah, Jurassic Park you saw when it came out, not Star Wars. You saw like obviously not when it
Oh,
came out.
yeah. Sorry, I saw Star Wars for the 20th anniversary, 25th anniversary must have been. No, it wasn't like that. It was just a normal movie going experience. Nothing crazy. And I don't know, maybe that's a hot take. I thought it was just okay.
Yeah. No,
I was
I've
not
heard people
blown away by Star Wars.
I've heard people say that. I feel like Empire is the one that I don't want to oversell it, but that's the one that I'm like, yeah, this is movie. This is movie right here.
Honestly, I mean, I don't know if that's really a hot take, but like I feel that way about a lot of movies where it's just like, oh, okay. It wasn't terrible, but like this movie's been built up so much and there's like so much hype
Yeah.
that I don't know. It didn't do much for me.
Well, see, that's another thing that review sites can't capture, Like, there's a lot of circumstances around how you see something that can change how you feel about it.
Absolutely. Do you have a movie hot take? What's a movie everyone thinks is really good, but is just not good at all? It's just bad.
I'm like you. I have a few that I'm like, yeah, I'm not really into that. I, I can't think of any where I'm like, yeah, everyone loves this and I hate this. But the movie this is the one that makes people mad is that I'm just like not really big on The Big Lebowski.
Hmm.
I know everybody loves it and it was funny and I liked it, but I've heard a lot of people say it's their favorite movie ever, and I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something. I don't get that at all. I think a big part of it is I really don't like bowling. I don't enjoy bowling. I feel like how much you like that movie has a lot to do with how much you like bowling.
I don't know. I don't really like bowling, and I like The Big Lebowski a lot.
Okay. Something else then.
Interesting. Yeah.
I should probably see it again because it has been a really long time. But I just remember being like, yeah, that was okay.
I would watch it again. I do think the Big Lebowski has a lot of repeat viewing value. It became, yeah, I think the second time I saw it definitely had more of like a, man, there's some really like funny, repeatable lines in here and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any better celebrated movies that I dislike, really. I just have movies that I think are kind of overrated, like The Big Lebowski. I think Spirited Away is a little bit overrated. That makes people mad.
I have seen that one. I'd have to see that one again though.
Yeah, I don't know.
God, I have one on the tip of my tongue that I can't think of it. But like, there's a movie that people like that I just think is trash.
I do think Full Metal Jacket is a little overrated. All these I still think are good movies. I just think they're like not as good as people say. I feel like the term overrated people don't understand sometimes. I'm not saying it's bad. Yeah. I'm saying like it's not as good as people say.
This is I feel like this concept is very related to the nerd fandom kind of thing. People are like, overrated. You didn't like it? You didn't love it? It's like, no, I just think you're right. It's very difficult for a rating site or review site to like capture the context around a movie because it's very much dependent on like when you saw it. Like if you saw Star Wars when it first came out in the theater just because you like sci-fi movies and you went to go see a movie, that's a very different thing from seeing it like at the 25th anniversary release when it's like one of the most celebrated movies in the world.
Yeah, and that happens to a lot of people. I think, I know a lot of people that have gotten into Star Wars, like, or they watched the movies like later in life, and they were just like, "Yeah, I like it, but I can't imagine like thinking I need to buy all the toys and this other stuff."
Yeah,
and honestly, I'm like that. I'm not like really into Star Wars in that way. I just think that mostly, I think Empire Strikes Back is just a really great movie, and A New Hope is also a very good movie, and Return of the Jedi is good. and I like The Force Awakens. I haven't seen it since it came out though.
Which number is that?
That's number 7. So I mean, so there's that too, right? Like, so you gotta think like the original trilogy comes out, the prequels come out, people hate them. Episode 3 is not really that bad, from what I remember. But then, years pass, and then episode 7 comes out, and I'm like, all right, I'll see it. At this point, we're like 50% good movie and 50% like not good movie, right? So like, all right, I'll see it. And then I walk out of it, and I'm like, that's pretty good. And so I think that might make me think I might think that it was better than it actually was. I've heard people say that you go back and watch it, and it's like actually not that good, but I don't know.
Absolutely. Low expectations can also influence you're like, oh, that was better than I expected.
Yeah. I really want to know what your other I want to know what movie people say is great that you think is trash. I feel like that's pretty rare. Like I don't have many like that.
I wish I could think of it.
I didn't really care for Casablanca, but I don't feel like that's really a hot take, even though it is like super celebrated. I don't feel like that's a hot take just because like it's an old movie. It's it's kind of like it's not a movie that like modern audiences are going to watch and like eat up.
It is. I think it's hard for. I think the older a movie gets, the harder it is to resonate. Like, it's really difficult for works to like resonate with people down through the centuries, like the Inferno or Shakespeare or whatever, right?
Yeah.
What about? I've never seen Casablanca, so I don't know.
What were you going to ask though?
I lost it. I can't think. I had one that I was going to ask you about.
A specific movie you were going to ask me about?
Yeah. And I forgot.
I thought you were about to ask me, because I was going to say that like there are other old black and white movies that I do like a lot. I like Seven Samurai a lot. But I feel like that movie's aged particularly well. It's very funny. And a lot of it's actually pretty lighthearted, and the action is like really still cool. Casablanca is like people talking in one place a lot, and I understand like it's a movie that like my favorite director thinks it's their favorite movie. Like I get it. Like I see the historical value and stuff.
I've never seen that one either. This is why we can't be a movie podcast, Colin. Is because you're going to be like, here's my opinion on movies. I'm going to be like, I've never seen that one.
No, that's why it's perfect though, because then I can just say my opinions, and you can just be like, I'll take your word for it, and then I get validated, and everyone hears my dumb opinions, and that's it.
Perfect.
I remember like I watched Citizen Kane, when I was in high school.
Oh, and that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you what you thought about Citizen Kane.
I mean, I do like that. I did like that movie. It's not like I'm not going to watch it again, but I definitely enjoyed it more than Casablanca. Casablanca to me was more like just boring. Citizen Kane, I think, is like a good movie. But it's kind of both, right? Like I liked it, but also it's it's more interesting in terms of like movie history and like kind of it was the first movie to do this, first movie to do that, for all this stuff.
Yeah.
So like it's a good movie, but it's not like I'm not like excited to watch it. Seven Samurai, I'd put that on and watch that again. I might put on Nosferatu and watch that again. I might put on another black and white movie that's really good. Seventh Seal? Yeah, I'd put on Seventh
Seal. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd watch that again. Seventh Seal is good.
Nice.
But yeah, now that I think about it, I'm definitely not like I'm not an old movie aficionado at all. There's not a whole lot of black and white movies I've seen. I've never seen
Hmm.
Dr. Caligari. I've never seen like any of those like legendary monster movies. Maybe I saw Frankenstein, but I haven't seen like any of the other Frankenstein movies or the other Dracula movies or Wolfman or any of that stuff. I've seen Creature from the Black Lagoon. That was pretty good. So that's another thing. Like there are movies like that and like The Blob that are like not they haven't aged well, but like that just makes them like more endearing in a way. Like
Right.
I like watching The Blob because like it's just so of its time that it's just like interesting, you know? Like it's just kind of a dumb creature feature, like it's just interesting in its own way.
See, and again, that's like context that you're bringing to it. It's like someone in 1950 or whatever would have seen that in a very different way than you're seeing it today and enjoyed it maybe for very different reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think the interesting question in there though is like, is there something inherent in the art that's like, I don't know, you're appreciating something and they're appreciating something and you would describe it in different ways, but is there something inherent in the art that's common, that carries through and remains like, yeah, this is one of the good movies, even though we're like appreciating different
Mhm.
stuff? Is there something to it that's like, I don't know, more than just a tossed off movie? Is there a heart to it that audiences have responded to for the last 70 years?
That's a profound question. Hey, King Kong is also good. That's another black and white movie that's good, and the original Godzilla. Um, but I would say something like, I mean, like Citizen Kane is a heartfelt movie, and again, like I didn't really resonate with Casablanca, but I feel like people do. I feel like stories, you know, like can be they can transcend time in that way,
There you go.
like
That's what I'm getting at. Like CGI effects, apart from CGI or film techniques or whatever, are there like stories that really resonate with people down through the years?
I think there are. I mean, uh, like I read Moby Dick. Like I think it was like last year. I read Moby Dick, and it completely resonated with me. I was expecting it to be like a Citizen Kane, like yeah, this is good, if you're interested in like the history. But no, I read it and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like this is like making me think about my life and stuff. And yeah, that was written in the 1850 or something.
Sounds right.
I hope I'm not way off. That'd be embarrassing. But
No, I think that's in the ballpark.
um, yeah, I think stories. But I would say also though that like with King Kong, the effects that they did are still impressive, and I think they always will be, right? Because they did a lot of like stop motion with very intricate models and stuff. A lot of physical stuff that is impressive. I think across any time that they built all these models and did all that, and you know in a way, I almost feel like it's almost more impressive now because I know that nowadays they would have just made it on a computer,
Yeah.
Or and that's another thing. A lot of people appreciate the Jackie Chan movies more now because it's like with like actors unions and stuff. It's like yeah, they would never would do this. No, nobody would jump out of that thing. Nobody would ever allow this.
Dude, the credits of every one of his movies are like how many times he got hurt during the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I've never seen a Buster Keaton movie, but I've heard that's a similar thing. Like you watch him and you're just like, dude, that guy just didn't care. That guy was ready to just die on this set every day.
Really? I've never seen a Buster Keaton movie either.
Um, Yeah, he did some crazy stunts. I can't think of anything. I know he did a bunch of crazy stuff on trains. Like there's a movie where there's like a bit where he's like jumping around on a locomotive, and it's like all real. He totally could have just like fallen and like went under the train. There's that stunt you've seen probably references of it where it's like he's standing in front of a building and then like the wall falls, but there's like one little window and it falls and I think they recreated it in like one of the Jackass movies or something. But like he was doing stuff like that all the time. And it's just like nuts, dude.
Damn. Maybe I need to see some Buster Keaton.
I think we both have a lot of movies to watch, actually.
I certainly do. I'm way behind on my movies. Starting with, I don't know. What's the next movie I should watch, Colin?
Well, the one that's fresh in my mind is Empire.
Yeah.
Seven Samurai is great, but I mean, it is like 3 hours long, I think. So that's a bit of a commitment. What else did we talk about today?
Well,
Casablanca.
King Kong.
Yeah, I've never seen a Buster Keaton movie, like I said. King Kong, I think, is pretty short, actually.
I've never seen OG Godzilla movies.
Yeah, the original one is pretty tight.
I hear there's some like crazy, like psychedelic 60s era Godzilla ones that are kind of awesome.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of those. I've only seen. I remember at one point in high school, I said I was going to watch all of them. I think I watched like 6 or 7, and I was like, "Yeah, I can't do this." Because they reached a point where they got into that cheesy era, and they started just cranking them out. And there's just so many of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the very first one is like just straight up just good movie. I think the second one was good too. I don't remember much now. But I like the new one too, the latest one that came out. I guess maybe that's not the latest one, but Shin Godzilla, that was really tight.
Okay.
That was
I didn't see that one, but I saw one of the newer ones. Yeah, Godzilla's doing cool stuff.
Not Shin Godzilla. There's another one that came out after that. Godzilla's -1. Well, both of those are really good. Shin Godzilla and Godzilla -1 are both very good.
Godzilla -1? I didn't come to the movies to do math, man.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad title, honestly.
All right. I think we should probably leave it there.
Yeah, we got to wrap this up. Guys, let us know if you agree with me. Tell me your bad opinions on movies. But to bring it home, I mean, how do we fix review sites? Is there a solution here? I've always felt like there's got to be a way to fix this. And I would love to be the guy to do it and make my own like movie review site that, I don't know, calculates scores in some advanced way, but I've never been able to figure out what that would look like.
I feel like a lot of the stuff we touched on in the episode was just kind of, context that people are bringing to the episode or to the movie. And kind of subjective criteria. I think that's going to be a tough ask, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Well, there you have it.
That's where we'll end.
1X Developer Podcast.
Hey everybody, this is Colin. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for listening to this episode of the 1X Developer Podcast, and let you know that if you have any questions, comments, or if you just want to tell us about your day, you can reach us at X, formerly known as Twitter, at 1X Developer Podcast. We're also on YouTube at 1X Developer Podcast. You can email us if you're weird at 1xdeveloperpodcast@protonmail.com. And lastly, don't forget to follow, subscribe, all that stuff, so you don't miss any further episodes of the 1x Developer Podcast. Thanks so much. See you next time.